more than anything, which is a bit weird in my mind because the directors don't run the company. They oversee the company.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, for sure.
In my opinion.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what my role is as a director. I oversee things.
Yeah.
And provide advice and suggestions and carry on and make sure everything is within a governance and all that other stuff, right? But I think that was the main reason why. Now, having said that, in the end, 5 of us got enough votes. They voted those people out.
Yeah.
And they even gave themselves extra time to get more votes. And I had to laugh when they did that because I got more votes when they did that. They thought they were going to get the votes. I ended up getting more. But it's just the way the things were. And in other words, the road show worked. We really convinced people that things could change, and this is what. And we had a proposal, the things that we would do, and they bought into it in the end, right? But initially, I was a bit taken back by their reluctance.
Yeah,
the big investors.
Yeah, I mean, thinking that this change needs to happen, and I could see that. And I mean, you had a critical majority, I guess, like 5 of you and a proposal of 8 directors. But so maybe it was a bit unique, but did you ever feel, I feel like sometimes directors that get associated with activists, sometimes, I don't know, there's concerns about that or that. Like, how did you manage that of saying, okay, I'm going to go with Paulson and do this roadshow and be sponsored by them? Was there any sort of negative connotations towards that, like an incumbent director or anyone else you experienced that?
No, I did not, and I did not feel that way, and because that was one of the reasons why I joined. I mean, not only I didn't mention that point, not directly. I mentioned 3 things. That we're going to have this technical staff, a much bigger company, and this chance to meet the big investors in the mining industry. But bottom line was, man, I was on board. I was on my surfboard kick, and this company was being mismanaged.
Yeah.
Right? Now, is that management or is that the board? Well, you go after the board, right? That's what shareholders do. They go after the board.
Yeah.
They don't go after the managers.
Yep.
So that's the 4th thing. And I felt pretty strongly about that. And I made a case. Now, the Detour board came behind us on some of these things and made their own case. But when you look at the flyers that went out at the time, it was, they weren't making a case. Really, and then it almost got to be character assassination, right?
Yeah.
And which that's what it came down to in the end because they weren't making a good case to stay on board. It was pretty obvious. John Paulson would get up and pontificate and say, these people have created their own little country club here. They got this nice pay package, these nice benefits as the board. It's just incredible, they're cranking things out for their own good. Well, I don't know how much work you've done, but, I'm a bit of a cynic. I got to wonder how many boards are like that in the world, right?
Yeah.
Right? What's wrong with that? That's what they're doing. You're a shareholder. You're not happy with them doing that, obviously. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
You're kind of hitting the nail on the head. So this is in the existing research and play, activists are coming onto the scene in a big way. But the existing conversation is it is a country club. It's like an old boys club and, you need activists to come in here. But I wonder, from an individual perspective, I'm careful to speak about, your case or others, but does that limit you if you have boards that are entrenched and they sort of all know one another and they're just having a good old time? How you being associated with an activist, does that prevent future opportunities? Are you limiting to activist appointments? What are your thoughts around that?
Well, that's a good question, actually. I see what you're getting at, and I've thought about that. I had the potential to do something, and I was very cautious about that because I didn't want that tattoo. But I have to tell you, Mark, that the Detour experience has opened other doors for me. It is a flag on my CV, and a good flag. That experience.
Okay.
I mean, it's one of the reasons why I'm on the Western Gold, Copper and Gold board. I'm on this. I mentioned I don't have it up on LinkedIn yet, but I'm on January. I joined a $7 million market cap company called Big Ridge Gold.
Oh, nice.
And that's with an old colleague I worked with over the years, CEO. What happened was he just done like a merger, a reverse takeover sort of thing, took control of the company, and one of the legacy directors was an Australian who didn't want to go through the background check. And so he needed someone fast. I said, well, I'm already cleared for the Toronto Stock Exchange. And I was glad to help, and I know the project, and I could help in that way as well. So it was all good. And we're trying to make things bigger and better. Obviously, we're not going to sit back on our heels. But that added some more credibility to the board they already had, right? When I joined them, because Bill worked for Detour, and I've heard that a number of times.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
And it never comes up that I was part of an activist group.
It never does. Okay. Because that's...
No one's ever... It's not been a scarlet letter for me in any way, Mark. No.
Okay.
No way.
All right. Well, I mean, that's good, and that's what we kind of want to get at our research is, like, what are the implications? Because, you have to be careful, like, whether you're limiting yourself from, like, the traditional route, but it sounds like when you really want someone who's going to be loyal to shareholders, loyal to the bottom line, trying to maximize value, then you're saying, like, that's worked out for you because you have that history.
Absolutely. Because here's the thing, and this is a nuance with Detour Gold, and this will kind of give you insight into what Marcelo Kim is like. Marcelo runs a couple other companies, right, mm-hmm. in the venture capital space, and he just did another kind of activist movement with a company, and he took on one of my colleagues from this group that we're talking about, Detour Gold, by the way. He didn't bring me on, but that's fine. And this was weird because, as you know, I went in, and because he lost the vote, the interim CEO walked away. Well, I stepped up as the interim CEO while we went out and did a search for a proper CEO, right? Yep. And one of the narratives when we were doing the roadshow was, look, they got too much overhead here. They got 45 or 50 people in HQ. That ain't right. It's a one-trick pony, et cetera, et cetera. It was like the second biggest mine in Canada. That didn't matter. We were, we were putting out $75 million a month in revenues. That didn't matter. But we had this bloated administrative staff, if you will, HQ, right? So that was one of the narratives. So this is kind of a nuance to all this. Is I walked in and I never heard an office so quiet. I couldn't figure this out. It took me about a month when I was in one of these management jam sessions they like to do up in Canada. And I told them my history and while I was there. And I said, by the way, I don't work for Paulson. I'm independent. And I saw heads flinch everywhere. And the narrative was such, and it was probably more on the Detour side, and they're defending themselves, that we were to be pawns of Paulson. Mm. Which was only an 8 or 9% shareholder, right? Right? Yeah. Just because he nominated 8 people and 5 got on doesn't mean we worked for it. It never meant we worked for it. And I told you, we didn't take any pay to stand up as a nominee, right? Either. And everybody thought I was there and I was going to clear out house. I was there to fire people, right? Yeah. Which I was, but not in the way they were thinking, right? Yeah. I was to set the table because, I was an interim CEO. I couldn't set the agenda for the company, but there were certain things we had to do and work on, and I had to get the ball rolling, so to speak, right? That was the idea. But they really thought I was working for Paulson, and I was going to implement everything we talked about, when we got into that, pissing match, right? Yeah. And so, to that point, right, but we made very, very clear, I did anyway, I was there every day, we're independent from Paulson. Yeah. And this is something, by the way, that rubbed Paulson wrong. Or Marcelo Kim, anyway. Rubbed him wrong that I wasn't following his orders.
Okay, but you're saying, you didn't accept pay from him, so he's assuming that, but, he wasn't happy with that, your pushed to be independent? That's what you're saying?